Well, you guys wanted to see some big trailer stuff, so we're doing big trailer stuff, and that means we're at the tire shop because that is where you spend most of your time when you have an 9-axle, or at least it seems like it. They're gonna, instead of trying to get in there because, you know, heavy and a booster, not the steerable, they're gonna come out here and change it out here so I don't have to try to back this in there loaded, which you're not supposed to do. But this tire right here, you could see started coming apart on me. You can see on the sidewall, starting to crack apart real bad. It was very, very slight right in here before, and then after yesterday of loading and going down the road with weight on it, every time I stopped and looked at it, it just got worse and worse. So this morning we're starting out first thing, getting a new tire. All of the others look really good. I don't see that happening on any other tire on here except that one for some reason. So, I mean, that is obviously an older one than the one next to it. So they're going to bring a tire truck out and just do it here. It is possible to pull the Jeep, hook onto the main trailer, and get turned around and lined up, because I can line up almost dead straight with that door, and then pin the booster straight right here and back it straight in the shop. But James said, well, by the time you do all that, we'll just have the tire truck out here and be done, so might as well just do it out here. So that's what we're gonna do. Loaded, dead straight backing up only, no turning, no moving, or you will shear this pin off, which is exactly why that pin is sheared off and I have to use the extra one that I drop in from the top. But normally you flip your air switch right here, and that pin is supposed to come all the way up through the top of this and lock it straight. But you can see it's broke off right where this thing sheared it because somebody backed up loaded. And then you flip this down and it disappears. Here comes the welcome party from the tire shop. Hi. And they're already getting going on it. Can't tell if James is over there checking the air in my tires or letting air out so he sells more tires. No comment over here, huh?
Nope.
So remember last time I was in here and you checked all my tires and every single one was the dead perfect pressure?
Yeah, yeah.
This is the opposite of that, isn't it?
A little bit. They're not bad. A couple
Yeah.
were low. I figured we at least kind of nurse them along. I mean, they're all, you know, the back axles they're matched. I mean, these ones, they're all not half bad. They're just mismatched.
So my hammer was close enough.
Yeah, a little bit of everything on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, none of them are flat.
Look at this. I see all your guys' tricks. I see your tricks, James. Screws in the parking lot of the tire shop. Yeah, how convenient.
Make money.
All right, well, we're all done. We got the bill paid. It was slightly cheaper than my last stop here, where I got 24 tires all at once. And yeah, they got everything set, checked all the pressures and all my other tires and made sure it was all good to go, checked everything out. Now we are headed north to Washington, and you guys get to ride up there in the 360 camera as we snake out of the yard here and get back on the highway. Now we're not that heavy with this. We're actually on the very light side for this trailer, and I could legal this amount of weight on less axles, like without the Jeep involved. But just the way this sits, I can't like move all the weight to the very back of the trailer to counteract the booster pushing weight forward. So I would still probably be okay on the truck, but I'd be really close. But if we put the Jeep in, then it's no issue at all and we're totally fine. So We have more axles than we actually need for the gross weight that we are, but this makes it where it's just dead simple, and then we're totally good on all our weights all the way through. Makes routing easier, all of that stuff, because we're not like super heavy on anything. So I could have backed it into the shop at this weight without probably over stressing that pivot pin, but like I said, by the time I did all that, they'd just be out there and done, so they might as well just come out and do it. So that's what we did. Like scales are open, and we'll find out real soon if the northbound ones are open too. Look at this though, check this out. Trucks all gotta stop here. This guy is driving his tractor down the highway, going right by. Lesson for the day: if you haul the tractor, you got to go through the scales. If you just drive the tractor, you get the bypass. They are open, so you get to see what it's like to go through scales with an oversized load. Green light all the way through. I think they're more worried about that hot shot than they are me. One nice thing about pulling out of this scale is you pull out down the hill. So like, actually it's really conveniently placed when you're heavy because you're coming up the hill to it, so you're already going slow. You don't have to use brakes. The one going southbound, you come downhill into it, so when you're heavy, like, it takes a lot of brakes to get slowed down into it. This one, you're uphill, you're already going super slow by the time you get to the top of the hill. And then you pull right in, and then getting out of it, you come down the hill, so we get right back up to speed without having to like full pull this thing down the highway. So we just stopped here in Madras to check everything over. Grab the last bit of snacks and some waters and stuff before we head up into no man's land. We're heading up into Washington. Not far into Washington, but Washington. I already gave everything a good another checking over here, even though I just did it this morning there. Other tires obviously doing fine now. So yeah, we're really light for this trailer, but we're a lot of weight overall, if that makes sense. We're heavy for that guy, light for that, basically. So that wire's hanging down. I've not noticed that before. To get some zip ties and put that up. Either way, everything's looking good other than that. So north we go. Oh, not north we go yet. I remember one other thing. My AirPods, I lost them. They live on the highway now because yesterday I replaced these two lines. They weren't leaking, they weren't cracked, but they were pretty sun faded because they sit out here in the sun all day, so I replaced them. As you can see, I put all new fittings and everything. And this morning, while I was airing everything up, I took my AirPods off and I set them here to listen to make sure there was no air leaks. And there wasn't, which was great. And then I went off about doing some other things, and my AirPods are somewhere between my yard and here. Put that up so I can see the tail of the trailer when I'm making a right-hand turn. Okay, off we go. Maybe. One day. This is the problem with stopping in Madras. It's not stopping in Madras, it's getting going in Madras again. So we're gonna cut this guy off, otherwise we'll just never get out of here. The road splits right here anyway. They can pass me there. Otherwise we would be here all day waiting for a spot big enough to pull this thing out. I believe it's like a 6% grade, somewhere in there. And this is probably going to be our biggest, longest climb today. We're doing about 22 miles an hour right now. It flattens out a little right here. I could probably get another gear and get up to maybe 30, but right up there, just past where that truck is, it steepens back up again, and then as it makes a turn up there, it gets even steeper, so there's no point in shifting up. Just have to shift back down right there. What I'll do is just get some more RPM in this thing and kind of hit that with as much RPM as I can get, but while staying in the same gear. And then it'll pull me back down again. I might even have to drop down lower. What I did not do, I probably should have, was I didn't flip my rear ends to the low side. This truck has 2-speed rear ends. See, it's pulling us down already. That's why there's no point in shifting. This truck has 2-speed rear ends. I could flip the rear ends to the low range, and then I basically just lowered my rear gear ratio to 5 something. I'll put right here what the low side is and the high side in the rear ends. So yes, you grind a little sometimes on these shifts, but I'd rather grind it than miss it on a hill like this, so I like get it in there. Okay, we're down to 19. I think it's gonna keep this gear all the way up. I'm in a fifth. I'm in the highest gear on the low side of the transmission. We're at 1600 RPM and it's holding it. Any lower and I'll need to downshift. So this truck that's coming up to pass me now is loaded. So it's a loaded 80,000 pound truck. He's not going past me as fast as that last one did, but still at a good amount. When the fan kicks on, it pulls your whole power down. That fan takes a surprising amount of horsepower to turn, and it'll pull the whole truck down. Sometimes you lose the whole gear because the fan kicks on. But likewise, going downhill, you can reach over and flip the fan on manually, and that helps with your engine brake on a downhill. It does kind of suck that I don't need a pilot car for this load, because you know it's not wide at all, because if I had a pilot car, this would be like perfect opportunity for him to like pull over and get some like good outside shots of me going by, because he could easily catch back up and get right back ahead of me. But we don't have one on this load. The good news is I will be able to look at this footage and see how long it took me to climb Cow Canyon grade from beginning to end. It's probably the longest it's ever taken me. And yes, I know that clicking from the flasher is super annoying in the camera, but don't worry, it's just as annoying here in the cab. But unfortunately, like, we kind of need our flasher right now, so. The steerable trailer, the Kozad, has strobe lights on the back, so I don't really need to run the flashers when I'm going up a hill, because they have strobe lights. This one does not, so you have to use flashers. There I shift, or do I wait until we get to that last little flat spot there? We'll wait. 2,000 RPM, I'll hold it there until we crest this little hump. Well, till the trailer crests it, which is a ways after the truck does. That way the trailer's not still pulling up the hill while we're trying to shift. Okay. Okay, we turn the flashers off. We're still going slow, but we got traffic now like all piled up behind us, so they know we're here. Okay, I have the power to get up this a little faster, but since it just split to a passing lane, I'm going to back off so that these two can go by. Which is going to kind of screw me coming up this last bit, but I think I'll hold the gear. Yeah, it's got it. Now that wasn't so much because I really cared all about them getting by me and having a better day, not being stuck behind a truck. It's because if I let them pass me there, they're not going to do some stupid pass somewhere else I don't want them to and cause a wreck or a close call or anything like that. So that wasn't to help them out, it was to help me out. All right, up to Biggs Junction, out 84, and then to Washington we go. The tire fell off. That's not ideal. Good morning. You guys missed everything else that happened because, you know, deliveries and stuff. Either way, we're working our way back towards home. I was just scolded for my parking job here at this fuel station. I guess you can park here overnight. I did. But apparently I was not over far enough, which made it so you couldn't fit as many trucks here. And someone who drives a freaking box truck decided that they needed to tell me how to park my 9-axle. So yeah, I guess, I mean, I kind of picked it at an angle here so I'm not sticking out too far. I guess I could have put all that over there and had my truck over a whole 6 feet, but you could still easily park 2 trucks there. Whatever, dude. Okay, either way, I didn't think this through. When I pulled in here, I should have got the fuel, then pinned my booster, pulled out there on the highway and backed in, but instead I came around here and backed in and just parked it and was done and call it a day, which means now I can't get fuel unless I want to. Well, I totally could. I could detach the truck and pull up here, get fuel, come around and pull back in and hook back up. But I also need DEF fluid, whatever. And they don't have that here. So I think I got plenty to make it to Madras, so the truck stops. I think I'll just go to the truck stop where I can get all of it in one spot, and we'll call that good enough. I have plenty to get back there now, you know, empty. We're, with that on there, I think we're 75,000 pounds right now. So we don't take that much fuel when it's loaded. Of course, you go down to like 2 miles a gallon and start drinking a lot of fuel, which is why this truck has 2 big old huge tanks on it. This truck does go through a lot more DEF than my white one though, and I'm not sure why. My white one uses very little, to the point where for the first like 3 weeks, a month of driving it, I was kind of wondering if somebody fake deleted it, or like, you know, covert deleted it where everything's still there but it's not actually doing any of the stuff, because it just wasn't using DEF, and then it started finally going down, and yeah, it's all there. But this one, that DEF gauge definitely moves in this one much faster than the white one. So we're gonna get our pre-trip done, put some air to everything, and check for our leaks, check our tires, and then head back to Madras to go try to see if we can get this into the truck stop and get all our fluids. So pre-trip is done, all is good, all of our lights are working, and blinkers and brake lights and stuff, and flashy lights up top. Everything's connected, tied, no leaks of air or fluids. All the tires are good. Can't be having James catching me slipping with low tires again. But either way, I'm looking at this because now I have to take this container back off so that I can haul a dozer on this trailer. I have to use this one because the steerable is down for the moment. I'll show you why when I get back to the yard. I found a pretty serious problem with it that is getting fixed at the moment. But that is kind of handy thing I have in two. I can have this on one and still use the other for doing normal stuff, except for when the other one is out of service. So either way, I'm looking at this and this container here, thinking about I have to take this container back off, and thinking about all the work it was to get it on there with the rollback. And that video of doing that, you guys have already seen it by the time you're seeing this one, but that video is not going to post for probably another 5 days to a week after I am sitting here on this rock contemplating my life and filming this. And I am certain that in that video there will be plenty of comments saying, "Hey dummy, why didn't you just pull the neck off the trailer and set the container on there with the rollback and then push it back with the bed instead of doing all that goofy shit that you did?" And I do not have a good answer to that, other than I didn't think of that until just now when I'm staring at this, thinking about taking that container back off, realizing I could just pull the neck and winch the container right up onto the rollback. And then to put it back, I could just set it right back down on the front half of the deck there as if I was setting it on the ground, pull my bed back forward, and then shove it backwards, and it's right there. So much easier than all that stuff I did. So I'm feeling super dumb right now. But either way, hopefully I'm smart enough to remember how to drive this home and park it, because that's what we're doing. So we're gonna head to the truck stop, go get some fuel and some DEF. I'm gonna reflect on my decisions, why, and then work our way back towards the yard. And yeah, I can totally see why that guy would have trouble making this turn and getting through here to get fuel with my truck just sticking so far out in the driveway like that. Man, completely terrible. Can't believe someone would just park like this and just totally block to where nobody else could get in here. All because I wanted to park there for the night. So disrespectful. Okay. Oh, high beams are on. We don't want high beams. Let's not get out of here. Let's roll this back up so I can see. I can't remember whether I pulled the pivot pin out of the booster or not. So I should go check. I totally did. Don't know why I question myself. All my decisions are perfect. Okay. Yeah. We got trailer brakes. Okay, let's see how screwed we are here. Oh, actually an open lane. Oh, check out the cab over. All right, let's go do stuff. Problem is, he's gonna pull out here and then go inside for like 30 minutes and I won't be able to make the turn out of here. That's what'll happen. Okay, we got our fuel going, so we'll go check all our tires and make sure nothing jumps out at us. Is scary. It's like those bees right there. Probably couldn't see that, but why are there so many? There's a lot of bees flying around this. Huh. Still got our sign. I mounted a permanent sign here, in case you couldn't tell. There are bees everywhere at this place. They're all up here in the back of my truck and stuff too. I heard there's like a swarm going on somewhere. Huh. Pro tip, try to put the DEF in the DEF tank, not the diesel tank, as we have learned. So yeah, I told you, but the guy that was here actually pulled out and like left. I'm like, oh sweet, he's gone. And then this guy comes pulling in. I'm like, oh, he's got to stop to get fuel. I got time to sneak out of here. And then he pulled straight through and parked right there. So I think since this guy hasn't moved yet, I think I can do this. or I'm about to totally screw all this up and block everyone in the truck stop. So we're gonna start cheating this way into this other guy's lane, because he's not ready to move yet. Oh yeah, we got plenty of room. You know, it really seems like a lot of room between that trailer and that brush pile until you try backing through it, and then it gets a lot smaller. But we made it one shot from over there. Got a little wild, had to overcorrect a little bit, but we got it all pulled back together and in here. I always go back farther than I need to, obviously if I can, and then pull back forward where I want, so that booster, because you're backing up, the booster's obviously kicked one way or the other against that pin, but by pulling back forward, it kind of falls back in line and takes the pressure off the pin so you can remove it. So, and one more thing we got to do. I got to show you the major issue I found on this trailer, which is why we can't use this one. We have to pull the container off and use this one. But first, I need to take this fifth wheel. Well, the trailer's got to stay where it is. The Jeep needs to move forward. Slide the fifth wheel back here. Not for like weight reasons, but because I need to put the license plate on this trailer, and I keep not getting it done because I don't have room to get in there. And I don't know how they had it mounted. There's a license plate tray, but there's no like correct holes for the plate to mount to. There's these big old huge ones. So I need to like drill new holes and everything and bolt it all in there. So I want more room. For now, the license plate's riding around in the cab of the truck. The trailer has its plate, the booster has its plate. This thing has three separate, this is one registered license piece, that is one registered license piece, and the booster is its own registered and licensed piece. This is three trailers going down the road, technically. So I'm gonna drop that to the ground, take the pressure off of this, weight off of this, flip. That switch is my locks, and then slide this back. And I don't have my drill or all that stuff with me right now to mount that, but now I can get to it. See, it's just got these two big old huge holes right here. So you have to put some like big old fender washers in there or something to make it like work. You see there was a plate here. I'm just gonna drill two new like actual plate, like 1/4 inch holes for license plate, and like do it normal. But now I got room to get in there and do that, to come back with my pickup and a drill, a couple bolts, and be done. Now, the problem with the Kozad, why it is currently out of service. Let me go to the other side so I'm not pointing you at the sun to show you, and so that the wind is at your back, hopefully not in your microphone. Some of you more observant viewers will notice that the steering bar is missing. Normally it stays permanently pinned on that end, and that end hooks onto that ball with a coupler, and then you remove it when you want to run this thing manually with the hydraulics and sit back here in your little driver's seat and drive the back end. I was inspecting this trailer and I found a crack in the coupler that holds it to the ball. So I wanted to obviously get that fixed. So I pulled that whole bar out, used a Zacklift to lift it out of here. When I turned it over, I found in a spot you could never see, because when it's sitting like that, it's right above that big plate right there, so you can't get your head up to look from that angle. But either way, I flipped it over, I found a pretty decent crack in the steering bar itself. And as you could probably imagine, it would be a really bad freaking day if that steering bar came apart while this trailer was going down the road. So obviously that's like an all stop on this trailer. Pulled the bar out, took it into the shop, and I'm getting it like completely rebuilt. I told them I don't care what you have to do, make it so it's something we don't have to worry about again. So they're going through and like totally rebuilding that whole bar and coupler and setup to solve that issue. So until that gets done, this trailer is obviously down. That's okay, we got that one. I'll just have to pull that container back off, and I'll, you know, pull it off the front, because that makes all the sense in the world instead of trying to do it sideways. Actually, you can, technically, you can run this trailer as it is right now with no steering bar in here. That steering bar connects there as the neck moves back and forth like you go around corners. It comes back and it turns this pedestal here, which rotates the turntable and the tower and the rear axles. That's how it steers, whatever. But if I needed to, this trailer does have right there, I'll show you under here, see that pinhole? There's a pin that goes up in there. This is a turntable that this whole tower is on. This is rigid. This is a turntable that pivots. That's what that's connected to, obviously. That's what goes and steers. But you can pin this turntable to this chassis to make all of this one rigid piece. And then the bar has to be disconnected. These hydraulics then become your steering stabilizers, because they're in free float whenever that engine is off, but there's still some resistance there, so they act like a steering stabilizer. And if you notice, the tower and the turntable for this rear axle set is not in the middle, it's up here. So if all of this, like from that deck all the way back to this, was all rigid, when you go around a corner, it's going to be pivoting on those wheels. This is going to swing out, and this, since that is off center, will just follow along exactly like the booster does on my Aspen over here. This is kind of the same thing where, you know, this is its own chassis, all 4 axles here. Same here, all 4 axles are on their own chassis. The deck frame reaches over the top and actually connects back here, but there's no obviously steering joint in here like there is here. So when that turns that way, this all stays rigid and comes this way. You know, it pivots right there, comes this way, and here is the pivot that the booster just follows along on. And without that steering bar in there, and if this were pinned off, it's exactly what this would do. This would just, it kind of tail swing back and forth, and it would just follow with these axles right here. So you can run this as a non-steerable, and you still have the tower to raise up and down in the back. So if I needed to, I could, but I'd just use this trailer instead because I have it. I actually have seen one of these steerable Kozad Baby 9s for sale that had all of the steering guts removed from it, and it was set up permanently as now just a booster. So my guess is they had some issue with the steering system and just said screw it and removed it all, pinned that in place, and called it a booster trailer. I did, after finding that, I like crawled every which way up in there like a monkey and heavily inspected all of this tower, this pedestal, the turntable underneath, the pedestal there that the ball's on, up in this turntable, up in there in the bunk plates, like everything as deep as I could. I had like had my little phone in there, like taking video of the part I couldn't see and then watching it back later and all that, because I don't want issues with the steering system going down the road. So everything else was good. It was just that crack in the bar and that crack in the coupler. So all that's getting replaced. Nothing else of concern found in any of this. So hopefully get that bar back soon and we'll be good to go. This trailer did absolutely great. Had a great couple days of trucking with it. Not one issue at all other than that tire right there that we got fixed right off the bat. Pulled smooth, straight. This one's actually easier to pull down the road than this one, even though this one steers and makes it where you don't have to swing wide in turns. This one, yeah, you have to swing super wide because it cheats a super lot, but that's just what it's going to do. This one, with its steering, you got to really watch that steering and make sure it's doing what you want and doesn't steer too far to the outside or anything like that. So overall, this is, well, clearly a much newer, nicer trailer, but this one is just easier to pull. Aspen does make steerables as well, but you know, like I don't have one, so well, Kozad makes boosters as well, so same. But I do really like this trailer, and if I don't need the steerable, I'm probably going to pick this one every time. Either way, that's it for this one. I don't feel like this is going to make a good video, because to me, the kind of interesting and exciting part of heavy haul and low bed work like this is the loading, the unloading, the getting in and out of the job sites. If there was at least a pilot car with me that could have filmed like outside shots of it going down the road or going around corners, that would be cool. But in between the loading and the unloading and all of that, and any like tight messed up turns you have to do, it's just driving. It's driving. It's just you go a little slower and you swing a little wider in the turns, and that's kind of all it is. So I'm not able to film much of this, but I haven't worried about filming any of it because to me it doesn't really make, I wouldn't think it makes a good, interesting video really worth watching. But we filmed this one and I could be proven totally wrong and you guys really liked this and it gets a bunch of views. I don't know, but to me it's just not that interesting if you don't get to show the fun parts and all you have is the in-between. So for now it's just an in-between, but thank you for watching that at least. And hopefully if we get that some other equipment stuff hauling for this, we'll be able to film all that. And either way, we'll see you guys next time. I'm going home. Did I say we'll see you next time? I did. See you next time.